I was married earlier this month on the 6th. And as part of the many preparations, I had cause to reflect a lot on the symbolism of the marriage ceremony. I could go on about that a lot, but today I wanted to talk about all the other connections I had to the people there. In our society, we make a big deal out of marriage. There's a whole industry of it with money and caterers and flowers and so forth and rings and diamonds. And many legal repercussions like medical visitation and decision-making, bearing witness in court, and so forth. And I think marriage is really important, but I feel like the focus has eclipsed a lot of the other connections and commitments that we have to each other, especially to those who aren't married and who don't have, or don't have supportive family. Queer people especially, over the decades, have elevated recognition of found family or chosen family because they've been so often rejected by their blood family and not been allowed to have their marriages recognized legally. And each connection that we have isn't just a generic relationship or family, it's a specific and special bond that two people have. Last Sunday, we recognized 4 new members of our fellowship, Philip, Gigi, Jill, and Dee. But membership in the fellowship is an abstraction of all the connections to individual people here. Each connection that they have, that we all have, is different. What we really have is a lot of individual connections, like being on a committee together, or playing games together on game night, or sitting together in a Seder, like the one that Jason held last night. At my wedding, there were a bunch of people and connections from either side. One of the strange parts of starting our relationship just as the start of the pandemic was that a lot of our connections had never met each other. In particular, I had my ex-wife, my son's mother, and her husband there. I also had, besides my previous marriage, I had an ex-fiance who has 2 children who were in their preteens when we met. I had, in the past, prior to this relationship, we had lived together for over a year and got an apartment together, after which things rapidly broke down. But breaking off that engagement meant I had no formal relationship anymore to those kids. And their mother insisted that I have no more contact with them after 2 years. And that was very painful since I had bonded with them. And they were a big part of why that relationship lasted for as long as it did, because I didn't want to abandon them. One of the many joys of my wedding was that they were able to come and attend. They're now 17 and 19, and I got to show that they're still part of my chosen family. Every connection that we have is important. The ones that even bonds that are broken, there's still a connection there. With all the divorces and the breakups, the passings on, remarriages, breaking and reconnecting, our connections can be a mess, but they're a beautiful mess. And we should respect all of those connections. I think especially about our recently passed member, Joe Ragsdale. And I would sit next to him in the bass section. And sitting next to someone in choir, you wouldn't think is much of a connection. I would, help him follow along with his music, maybe turn the pages when he couldn't find them because of his dementia. But I realized that to him it was significant. His choir was one of his only connections to people, and there many people without these, who are not married, who don't have these strong connections, but every connection that we have is important, especially to more to some than to others. Our final music of this passive non-action part of our service is a mashup of two songs. You Will Be Found is from the musical Dear Evan Hansen, which is about a lonely teenage boy who's mistaken for the best friend of another boy who dies by suicide. And the story of tonight is from the musical Hamilton, and is about another group of teenagers, these ones at the start of the Revolutionary War. The song is about their grandiose and somewhat drunk ideas about the importance of their own meeting. So perhaps the combination of those two is making grandiose those connections between us, those connections with lonely teenagers, lonely people with dementia, all those, everyone else who needs those bits of connections. Yeah. Thank you.